The Proud Brahmin and the Kind Stranger. Long ago in ancient India, a proud Brahmin set out on a long journey along a dusty road. He walked with his head held high, his white robes gleaming in the sun, and his gold earrings glinting with every step. He believed that because of his high birth, he was better than everyone else, and he would never accept help from anyone he considered beneath him. Along the same road walked a young man in simple, patched brown clothes, carrying a cloth bundle of food over his shoulder. He was from a humble family, but his heart was full of warmth and kindness. When he caught up to the Brahmin, he smiled and said, "Good day, friend. Are you traveling far? I have plenty of rice and fruit. Would you like to share breakfast with me?" The Brahmin looked at the young man's simple clothes and turned up his nose. "I do not eat with people like you," he said coldly. "I am a Brahmin. I only accept food from those of proper standing." The kind young man was not offended. He simply smiled, nodded, and walked on. The Brahmin continued alone, his empty stomach grumbling louder with every step. The sun grew hotter, the road grew longer, and the Brahmin grew weaker. He had brought no food of his own, expecting to be fed at villages along the way. But the villages were far apart, and soon his legs ached, his throat burned with thirst, and his vision blurred. He stumbled off the road and collapsed under a banyan tree, too tired and hungry to take another step. Who should come walking along the road but the same kind young man? He saw the Brahmin lying in the shade and rushed to help at once. Without a word about the Brahmin's earlier rudeness, he gently lifted the Brahmin's head and offered him cool water from his gourd. Then he spread out a banana leaf and served fresh rice, mangoes, and sweet jaggery. The Brahmin was so weak and hungry that he ate every grain of rice and every piece of fruit. As strength returned to his body, tears filled his eyes. He looked at the young man who had saved him, the very same person he had turned away just hours before. "Why?" the Brahmin whispered. "Why did you help me after I was so unkind to you?" The young man smiled gently. "Because kindness is not about who gives or receives it. It is simply the right thing to do." The two travelers walked together to the next village, talking and laughing as friends. When they arrived, the kind young man introduced the Brahmin to the village elder, a wise old woman who welcomed them both warmly. The Brahmin watched in amazement as children of all backgrounds played together, and people shared food and stories without caring about anyone's birth or status. That night, the Brahmin sat quietly under the stars. For the first time in his life, he felt ashamed not of who had given him food, but of his own pride that had nearly let him perish. "I was the foolish one," he said softly. "I judged a man's worth by his clothes instead of his heart. This kind stranger has more goodness in his little finger than I have shown in my whole life." From that day on, the Brahmin traveled with a humble heart, sharing food and kindness with everyone he met, no matter who they were. Moral: a person's worth is measured by their kindness, not by their birth. The Treacherous Monkey. Long ago in the ancient land of Kossi near Benares, a terrible drought came upon the kingdom. The rivers ran dry, the fields turned to dust, and the hot sun blazed down without mercy. On the great highway that ran through this parched land, there stood an old well where kind-hearted travelers would fill troughs with water for any thirsty animals. But now, the well was all that remained. One hot afternoon, a kind-hearted Brahmin named Deva walked along the dusty highway. He carried a walking staff and a small bundle of food, traveling slowly in the blazing heat. As he approached the well, he heard a faint sound, a pitiful whimper coming from the dry trough below. There, collapsed in the dust, lay a monkey gasping for breath, nearly dead from thirst. His eyes were half closed, his fur matted with dirt. Deva's heart filled with compassion. "Poor creature, you will surely die without water." Without hesitation, he lowered the heavy bucket into the deep well. The rope was very long, and the well was so deep that drawing water took great effort. Slowly, hand over hand, Deva pulled up bucket after bucket of cool water. His arms ached and sweat poured down his face, but he did not stop until he had filled the entire trough. "There, friend," he said gently. "Drink your fill." The monkey eagerly drank and drank, his strength slowly returning. His eyes brightened and his breathing steadied. Soon he was sitting up, then scrambling to his feet, completely revived. Deva smiled with joy, happy to have saved a life. Go in peace, little brother, he said. May you be safe on your journey. He picked up his walking staff and food bundle, ready to continue his own path. Surely, he thought, such kindness would be remembered with gratitude. But suddenly, the monkey's expression changed. His eyes narrowed with cunning, and a sly grin spread across his face. Instead of gratitude, his heart filled with mischief and cruelty. He bared his teeth at Deva, making horrible threatening faces. Then he snatched the Brahmin's food bundle and scrambled up a nearby tree. You fool, the monkey chattered mockingly from above. You wasted your strength for nothing. He threw handfuls of dirt and mud down at the shocked Brahmin, pelting him with filth, laughing wickedly all the while. The Brahmin stood there in stunned silence, covered in dirt, watching as the ungrateful monkey disappeared into the forest with his food, still chattering insults. Deva slowly wiped the mud from his robes, his heart heavy with sadness, not anger, but a deep sorrow at such cruelty. Alas, he said softly to himself, some creatures, no matter how much kindness you show them, will never have gratitude in their hearts. Their nature is fixed, and kindness cannot change what is already twisted inside. Yet even in his sadness, Deva did not regret his actions. As he continued down the dusty highway, he still stopped to help every creature he met, a tired ox pulling a cart, a lost child looking for her village, an elderly woman carrying a heavy load. Though one may prove ungrateful, he said to himself, I will not let cruelty harden my heart. True kindness asks for nothing in return. I will continue to help those in need, even if my kindness is sometimes met with betrayal. For that is the path of compassion. Moral: some creatures are ungrateful by nature, but we should not let their ingratitude stop us from being kind. True compassion asks for nothing in return. The Ungrateful Merchant. Long ago, in the great city of Varanasi, there lived a wealthy merchant named Anata, known far and wide for his kindness and generosity. Far away on the kingdom's border, another merchant named Durjana traded goods. Though the two had exchanged many letters and done business together for years, they had never met face to face. One day, Durjana loaded 500 ox carts with goods from the borderlands, exotic spices, precious gems, and fine silks, and sent his caravan to Varanasi. Go to the merchant Anata, he told his caravan leader. He is my business partner and will treat you well. The long caravan set out on the dusty road, traveling for many weeks through forests and plains. When the caravan arrived in Varanasi, Anata welcomed them with open arms. He arranged comfortable lodgings for every worker, gave them money for food and rest, and personally oversaw the fair exchange of goods. Any friend of my partner is a friend of mine, he declared. The caravan workers were amazed by his generosity and returned home loaded with fine goods and warm memories. Months later, Anata loaded his own 500 carts with Varanasi's finest goods, golden cloth, carved ivory, and fragrant sandalwood, and sent his caravan to the border town. Go to the merchant Durjana, he told his loyal caravan leader. Tell him I am his friend Anata, and he shall treat you as I treated his men. The caravan leader smiled and set off with confidence. But when the caravan reached the border town, Durjana's welcome was as cold as ice. Who is this Anata? He sneered. I do not know any such merchant. He refused to give them lodging, offered no food or water, and would not even look at their goods. The exhausted caravan workers stood in the hot sun with nowhere to rest, their oxen panting with thirst. The caravan leader pleaded, but Durjana slammed his door shut. The heartbroken caravan leader had no choice but to trade what he could at the local market for far less than the goods were worth. His workers slept on the dusty roadside, sharing water from a single well. When they finally returned to Varanasi and told Anata everything, the kind merchant shook his head sadly. How quickly some people forget the kindness shown to them, he said softly. Time passed, and Durjana sent another great caravan to Varanasi, expecting the same fine treatment as before. But Anata's loyal workers had not forgotten the insult to their friends. Before Anata could even speak, they confronted the new caravan outside the city. Your master turned away our brothers when they were hungry and tired, they declared. Now you shall taste what ingratitude brings. They seized the oxen, took the cartwheels, and left Durjana's men stranded on the road. When Anata heard what had happened, He gathered everyone together. "My friends," he said, "what my workers did was wrong, for two wrongs do not make a right. But let this be a lesson to all." He ordered that Durjana's goods be returned and his men given food and shelter. Then he sent a message to Durjana. "The man who is ungrateful for a kindly deed shall find no helper in his hour of need. I return your goods this time, but remember, kindness must be repaid with kindness." Moral: those who are ungrateful for kindness will find no help when they need it most.